Julian Purdy, who is also present. Paul Martin with GSA.
Present.
Right. Paul. Matthew Blum.
Hi, I'm present, and I'm also joined by Yulia Manilaki from OMB.
All right. Thank you, Matt. Melissa. Anybody from the VA?
Yes, this is Dr. Carrington with the Veterans Readiness and Employment Division.
All right. Thank you for getting on the call today.
And this is
Mike.
Cordell Smith from OSDBIT.
Hello, Cordell.
Hi, Stan.
Good to hear you. Mike Phipps.
I am present.
Hey, Mike. Thank
Stan.
you. Victor Klinghoffer is here. Scott Jensen with National Veteran Small Business Coalition.
Hey, Stan, I'm here. Thank you. Good to see you.
All right. Thanks for joining us, Scott. All right. That takes up roll call. I'd like to turn it over now to Rob Yanuzzi.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for making it today. Thank you everyone who set this up. It's my honor to reintroduce SBA's Deputy Administrator Dilawar Syed. He and the administrator are the administration's voice for over 33 million small businesses, including 2 million veteran-owned. Before coming to SBA, he was at the State Department championing American businesses as special representative for commercial and business affairs. He has extensive experience leading and running businesses and has driven economic growth and entrepreneurship at the federal, state, and local levels. Currently, he is driving change at the SBA, initiating a whole of SBA approach to help small businesses, including veteran-owned, start, grow, and build resilient businesses. Deputy Administrator.
Thank you, Rob, and thank you, Julian, for hosting at the Department of Labor. I think it's the first meeting in a long time that's been hosted outside SBA, and it speaks to the fact that this is an interagency effort, and it means that SBA, while it coordinates, but it is owned by everyone across the administration and across the federal government. And so, thank you for opening your wonderful space to us. I want to do a couple of things. One, talk about this moment that we're in right now. You mentioned that I'm currently executing our mission at the SBA. We all know we are in the midst of a transition. But I think I said this to actually in a public event with veterans recently. If there's one part of our mission, which I almost feel like it is no transition ever, it's a continuity, and that is our work in support of our entrepreneurship veterans. And I can tell you that all our colleagues, whether they are appointed by the president or they have a career, feel that way. And I can say safely that is also felt across the agency and regardless of the party. And so we are very confident that amazing strides that have made over the last now 4 years of this present administration will be built upon further. And whether it is 31, veteran business opportunity centers, many of them were opened in the last couple of years. $1.3 billion in funding, and that increased 48% to veteran entrepreneurs year over year. Very importantly, upping the service disabled veteran small business owners target to 5% from 2%, which we met last year, and we hope will be met in future as well. All of these are things that are tools that are designed to make sure that there is opportunity creation, wealth generation to lift entrepreneurs who are veterans and their communities. And we expect that there is progress that will be built upon that. I also say this quite bluntly, that policy is a reflection of values. And policy is a reflection of values are a reflection of you care. President Biden has demonstrated with his actions that he actually cares about the veteran community. And that's why we all these policies. These are not things that we just come out of thin air. They reflect what the administration cares about. And that's why we saw those strides. And now that we've made those strides, our expectation is that we will build upon this. But I'll also say this, it won't just happen in a vacuum. It will happen because the stakeholder community, whether it's Scott Jensen and other leaders who are online, and those of us who are going to be on the outside, will work together to make sure that the reforms that we have put in place are built upon. It takes all of us, the stakeholders on the inside of the government, as well as those of us who are on the outside. So again, I want to thank you for all that many of us have done, you have done here as agency partners and also stakeholders, and what you will continue to do going forward. And it has been a personal privilege for me to be a part of the team and help drive this agenda forward when it comes to this community. And second point I want to make is, this the spirit of this advisory task force is this is where the collaboration comes together. I must admit, the first meeting that I had, which was a bit underwhelming in terms of attendance and folks showing up, and I do feel that we have developed a culture of more engagement in these meetings. We brought in outsiders who are business owners, and I hope that spirit will continue. This should not just be a checkbox. Just checkbox, just because it's a federal advisory council that we gotta do it. Yes, of course, we gotta do it, but we gotta make sure we get business done. It's an opportunity for us to have conversations, checking on progress, issues that we can discuss so we can all put together our best energies to resolve them and move things forward. So I hope that spirit will continue. And that's why it's so awesome that DOL is hosting, this advisory council meeting, and I hope the rest will continue to lean in to make sure that we have a truly collaborative approach that comes together in this meeting. So with that, again, let me thank you for everyone's good work, and just again a heartfelt thanks for the opportunity to be able to serve you alongside you. And with that, happy holidays. And again, I'll pass it back to Rob. We'll be leaving shortly and go to the Hills.
Let's do this. Thank you, Deputy Administrator. Thank you for attending. Next, I would like to introduce Deputy Assistant Secretary of Policy, Julian Purdy. Julian, I want to appreciate you. I want to thank you for allowing us to hold our meeting here, and thank the rest of the Department of Labor for hosting us. And Julian Purdy is Deputy Assistant Secretary of Policy of Veterans Employment and Training Services in the U.S. Department of Labor. Julian has over 12 years of service working for and in the federal government, and is a former Army NCO, which, as a former Army NCO, is truly dedicated to public service and to the betterment of our nation's heroes. Prior to his appointment by the Biden-Harris administration to DOL, Julian served as a professional staff member on the Economic Opportunity Subcommittee of the House Veterans Affairs Committee. On the Veterans Affairs Committee, Julian was responsible for conceptualizing, drafting, and analyzing legislation related to military transition, employment, education, vocational training, home loans, and homelessness. During his tenure, he was one of the leading contributors for HR 7105. The Johnny Isaacson and David P. Rowe, MD, Veterans Healthcare and Benefits Improvement Act of 2020, which increases protections for student veterans, expands benefits for homeless veterans, and mitigates the impact of COVID-19 on veterans. Julian built his acumen for veterans issues while serving as a legislative assistant in the office of Rep. Adam Smith, where he worked on a wide range of domestic policies. He began his career on Capitol Hill through two programs that bolstered his desire to improve the lives of his fellow Americans through legislation: the Chief Administration Officer of the U.S. House of Representatives Wounded Warrior Fellowship Program and the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation Legislative Internship Program. Before working in the legislative branch, he served in the U.S. Army Reserve for 8 years. Julian hails from Northern Virginia and holds a Bachelor of Science degree in International Business from Bethune-Cookman University. Julian, I'd like to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Rob. You didn't have to read the whole thing, but I appreciate it.
I didn't want to leave.
Nice bio.
Yeah, good.
I thought so too.
Yeah, no, so I'm happy to host this meeting, and I was at the meeting in September, and I really appreciate Deputy Administrator Saeed's dedication to making this really a interagency work group. It always has been, but I think you focused on it more, and not only focused on having more people at the table, but more people at a higher level, so that we can truly have decision makers here and really affect the positive impact of veteran business owners around the country. And I'm excited that we could do this in the Department of Labor, because there's so much that's intermingled between SBA and the Department of Labor. And so happy I could do my part. I know next quarterly meeting, somebody else at this table besides SBA might be hosting. I'm looking at GSA.
Okay.
That's on the record.
Okay, so all this Friday, that-
I'll work on it.
Yeah. But, you know, what we have to do is continuously come together and work together as a team, because while we are in our own different departments and agencies, we are still one government. And our government's here to support our service members in all aspects of their life, and here, especially in this venue, when it comes to entrepreneurship and getting access to the federal government contracts and additional funding mechanisms. So I'm excited that we will continue this conversation and go forward to support our entrepreneurs. I know I'm listed later down the docket as far as updates, but since I have the microphone for now, I do want to take a little privilege and provide my updates right now, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So we've been working on a lot of things, just like Deputy Administrator Saeed. We are looking in labor to expand our reach and work more collaboratively with other departments. We're doing a lot of work, and we have some meetings coming up with the DoD in regards to the defense industrial base. But one thing I want to highlight in regards to one of the programs that we're working on is the Employment Navigator and Partnership Program. And what this program does, it sits our folks, contractors and other employees, next to transiting service members. So as they're getting out and they're not quite sure what they want to do, whether it's they want to go work for somebody or be an entrepreneur themselves, we can talk them through what this looks like and prepare them before that process, before they get out. And that trajectory and runway is paying out in dividends and some of the numbers that we've seen in regards to this program. We've seen the time between unemployment decrease by months. We've seen the wages of folks getting out increase tremendously, or I'll say enough where it's significant, where we can see that this program works. And so as we're doing that, we are continuously expanding our reach in regards to where we're sitting and providing these services. We have 7 bases coming online on January 1 of 25. We're going to get to additional 6 more in April. And the rest of the year, we have at least 10 others planned in 2025. So again, kind of noting to, again, what the Deputy Administrator said, this work is going to continue. I will not be here past January, but I have a great team who's truly dedicated to this mission and supporting veterans as they transition out. I'm sitting next to one of my colleagues, Chris Rick, who is, let's say, my right-hand man at this point. But we're doing this because we're going to run through the finish line. We're going to continue to develop our programming as we go forward. And what this program means to the group on this call here is that when these service members are coming out and they're looking for work, entrepreneurs can touch into this resource, this database of transition service members, and find new employees. What we have on the back end is what we call our partnerships team, and they consist of 9 different categories. One of the categories is placement. So they are actively searching for homes for our service members who are transitioning out if they want to go into the workplace as an employee. What we can do for all the entrepreneurs on the line and those who want to connect with SBA going forward is we can connect them to our partners and our intermediaries who are looking for that placement. So as folks are looking to bring qualified veterans on board, they can talk to our partner network and find those veterans. Also, what we have mentioned, the intermediaries, those organizations also are supporting apprenticeship. So if there's any organization that looks at apprenticeship through the Department of Labor and they say, hey, that's a lot of paperwork, that's very cumbersome, something we don't have the time, personnel, and resources to do on our own. These intermediaries will do that paperwork for you, help you strategize on how to make it work. And oftentimes you can sign up with them. They will run the program, but you just provide the placement. So it greatly decreases the amount of paperwork and time you have to put into having apprenticeships. And we see now, and hopefully this will continue to go along, and and we're going to look at other folks to continue to support this. But the apprenticeship model is getting more and more attention, and we are supporting that more and more as a government by way of contracts and funding and opportunities for folks who are doing apprenticeship programs. So this is a great way for small businesses to tap into apprenticeships without doing all of the work. So we welcome anybody to give us questions later on about how to connect with our partners and our apprenticeship intermediaries to reach into this deep talent pool that's coming out of the service through our Navigator and Partnership pilot program. The last thing I want to talk about is a great resource for small businesses, and that is our Veteran Employment Outreach Program. What that program is set up to do for any business of any size that wants to bring on veterans or find out what veteran programs that exist where they can utilize veterans, get advertising, such as the Hire Veterans Medallion Program, or find other federal resources for bringing veterans on board. Our team will walk you through that and provide you that technical assistance at no cost. And so we already have a hard copy and a soft copy handbook for the Veteran Employment Outreach Program, but we also have staff who are standing by, ready to talk to businesses about what it means to hire veterans and what resources they can gain by doing so. So I just wanted to make sure the group here is aware of these two resources. We're happy to take any questions later on in this meeting. Again, we're very much happy to host SDA. This won't be our last time, but GSA will be the next one. So we look forward to that next meeting. And thank you, Paul, for volunteering.
Sir, if I could just kind of caveat
Sure.
what you said, one of our priority projects at SBA Office of Business Development, we just added this priority project, is really, we have a relationship with federal agencies now, but we really want to just increase on that relationship. And so these type of meetings, and thanks, Paul, for volunteering, but everybody here at the table will probably get your turn. So what we want to do as part of that priority project is come visit you or maybe have you host us during these meetings, so that we learn more about your programs, right? And so it really helps with the collaboration piece, I think, that the deputy administrator talked about. So one of our priority projects, I just wanted to bring that up. So with that, I'll turn it over to.
So Deputy Assistant Secretary, I want to tell you, my intention was to come in here and summarize your bio, but I thought it was such a great bio that I had to read the whole thing.
Yeah.
So, but again, thank you for hosting us, and this has been a wonderful experience for us so far. With that, I'm gonna hand it back over to Stan.
Did you want to give the update, sir, on PD?
Okay, so it's my honor to provide an update on the SBA's Office of Veteran Business Development. We've had much to celebrate and a variety of events to attend to. Over the last few weeks, we've had the privilege of attending the official openings of 3 new veteran business outreach centers, one in Ohio, one in Pennsylvania, and one in Puerto Rico. The expansion went from 28 to 31 VBOCs in 2024, and it means that there's an increased ability to meet businesses where they are, both in location throughout the country and in their stage of entrepreneurship. The additional locations provide more opportunities for training, counseling for aspiring and existing veteran service member and military spouse small business owners. The location of the 3 new VBOCs were chosen because they have shown dedication to helping veterans work towards solutions to challenge the challenges that they face, and are positioned to support their coverage areas through the Department of Defense's Transition Assistance Program. I had the privilege of attending a Puerto Rican VBOC opening last week. It was monumental to bring the first VBOC to a U.S. territory to serve the veteran community of Puerto Rico. Over 80,000 veterans call Puerto Rico home, and many across the island are seeking business support, so we know it will be well utilized. Prior to visiting Puerto Rico, OVBD staff and I attended grand openings in PA and Ohio. These states are home to more than 1.5 million veterans and the new host organization will use their experience to support new and existing businesses. Last week, the SBA hosted the Military Community Entrepreneurship Summit in Las Cruces, New Mexico. It was a great event put on by our New Mexico and El Paso district offices alongside our partner, the Greater Las Cruces Chamber of Commerce, National Veteran Small Business Coalition, American Legion, and the Arrowhead Center at the New Mexico State University. This full-day summit for veterans, transitioning service members, National Guard and Reserve members, and military spouses provided information on free resources available in rural areas and opportunity zones. One highlight of the event was the various breakout sessions attendees could choose from to learn more about a particular topic for their business. The breakout sessions covered preparing for disasters, access to capital, becoming procurement ready, and finding business opportunities through USDA resources. In addition to these events, the SBA recently celebrated the 11th annual National Veteran Small Business Week. From November 11th to 15th, over 200 events and counting took place throughout the country, highlighting resources and tools for veteran and military spouse small business owners. The theme, Strengthening Vet Biz Communities, emphasized the importance of community support to foster veteran business success. To celebrate NVSBW, the SBA hosted 3 national events, each highlighting a different priority in the SBA's efforts to help veterans small businesses grow. The first event focused on lender readiness. Participants heard from real lenders and what they look for in successful applications. The second event broke down certification resources and the new My SBA certification platform to do business with the federal government. And the final event wrapped up our National Veteran Small Business Week celebration with a veteran roundtable. During this event, Administrator Guzman led the discussion as we heard stories from 5 different business owners and what resources they used to become successful. So I'd like to take the time to thank all those who celebrated National Veteran Small Business Week with us. And that ends my update, and I'd like to now turn it over to Stan.
Thank you. All right, so we'll go through some updates right now, and I understand OMB, you have another meeting to go to. So Matthew, if you want to go through and give your update, please.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Ken?
Perfect. I'm actually joined by my colleague, Yulia Manalaki, who we actually wanted to provide an update on 2 important developments since the last time we met. And both involved guidance that was released in connection with Small Business Saturday. We were super excited about that. I will quickly run through one and then turn to Yulia on the other. The first is on small business subcontracting, and the second is a roadmap that we've mentioned before that's very exciting and will strengthen our government-wide procurement forecasts. On subcontracting, we were very excited to partner with SBA and the Agency Acquisition and Small Business Specialists to develop guidance to strengthen small business subcontracting, which, as you all know well, is the primary gateway into the federal marketplace, helping companies to become acclimated to federal missions and buying practices. According to SBA, small business subcontracting has reached an all-time high, both with small businesses and in each of our socioeconomic categories. But the review of small business plan accomplishments suggests that there's more that can and needs to be done to build the resilience of our domestic small business supply chains that support our prime contractors. This memo, which OFPP issued, is actually the first guidance document our office has devoted to subcontracting in at least 3 decades. And long overdue, and it encourages agencies to review both existing policies as well as promising strategies that have been adopted by some of our forward-leaning agencies in this space. You can find the memo, which was issued on November 29th, on the OFPP homepage under memoranda. There are actually 10 reminders and best practices. I won't go through all of them, but I want to highlight very briefly just 3. One is a reminder acquisition and small business contract specialists to work together in determining opportunities for subcontracting. As you all know well, early collaboration between our contracting and small business specialist offices can be very helpful in aligning acquisition and small business interests on the extent to which opportunities may exist. There are a couple of best practices that you'll see in this regard. One is when negotiating new plans with incumbents, contracting officers and small business specialists are encouraged to consider achievement on the prior plans and not simply default to the goals that were negotiated for the prior plan. Another best practice, prior to waiving the subcontracting requirement, the contracting officer is encouraged to share with the small business specialist the explanation from the contractor on why subcontracting is not planned. So again, they can put their heads together and see whether this is reasonable or whether there are opportunities being missed for small businesses at the subcontract level. Second example of a good practice is we encourage agencies to challenge a prime offerer's proposed zero or virtually zero goals and document determinations in the contract file to accept zero or virtually zero goals. We know that some agencies review FPDS, for example, to see if the government is making prime awards to SDBOSBs and other small businesses for work that would fall within the scope of the subcontracting plan is one indicator of whether it is likely that these businesses would be available to perform work at the subcontract level. I know some agencies use Subnet or use DSBS or the new equity tool as well to help supplement some of these analytical findings. A third example is that we highlight a practice that I know we've talked about in prior meetings where agencies use or experimenting with incorporating a small business participation commitment document that goes into the resulting contract, which I think can make it easier for contracting officers to hold the prime contractor accountable for the execution of their commitments to partner and subcontract with small businesses in individual contracts. In all, these highlights we think will hopefully drive a continued upward trend in the level of small business subcontracting participation, especially when coupled with future improvements we're working on in data collection. And we hope to embark with GSA, SBA, and others as part of our high definition work to strengthen the strategic use of acquisition data and the implementation of our new acquisition management circular A137. So we look forward to a continued dialogue both with our agencies and with our contract partners and the IATF as folks have time to absorb the document. There's a lot of reminders, some that came from past GAO reviews. And again, we think that this increased emphasis on subcontracting will be very helpful moving forward as we work to build greater efficiencies and strengthen our domestic supply chains and help continue to improve the robustness of our federal marketplace. And with that, let me turn to my good colleague, Yulia, who say a few words about some exciting developments with respect to procurement forecasts.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having us. And it is an honor to be here with all of you and kind of hearing all the great work and all the great participants in the meeting. Really quickly to follow up on Matthew's note, as part of the Small Business Saturday event, the other guidance that OMB released was OMB issued guidance to federal procurement officials to strengthen government-wide procurement forecasts. Agencies have long been required to prepare annual forecasts of upcoming federal contract opportunities for businesses, but variance in the quality and the timeliness have made it difficult for small businesses to prepare their proposals and to more effectively compete against larger businesses. So the new guidance that we recently released will help align timelines and expectations, better enable small businesses to understand when new opportunities will become available, and it will help plan ahead to compete for federal awards. Our guidance is also on the OFPP website, and it lays out the roadmap for phasing in improvements to the forecast content, the timeliness, and improved access to forecasting information. The guidance also lays out roles and responsibilities for OMB and agencies to facilitate and increase access to the data and to help centralize forecasted actions into one place. And what this will have,
Excuse me.
bless you. And what this will help is to enable small businesses, including veteran small businesses, to more easily identify opportunities that may be a good fit, and it can help them with planning ahead of time, ahead of potentially bidding on an opportunity. And in coordination with the General Services Administration, OMB will maintain an easily accessible, centralized forecast of opportunities portal. We will make sure it is timely updated, and that also includes a point of contact for potential vendors. This is an ongoing effort and initiative where we will continue to refine and strengthen how the federal government communicates potential procurement opportunities to our vendor base. So far, we have received wonderful feedback from small business groups. Our traffic has significantly increased just from the last 2 weeks when we released the guidance. And we are excited for this development and look forward to hearing from agencies and small businesses on how to further improve procurement forecasts. Thank you.
Office of Veterans Business Development. Just as a reminder, again, this meeting is being recorded. So please state your name when you come on to give your update and your title, so that way we can capture that for the record. So I'm sorry, I missed your name. Was it Olivia that just gave the update?
So this was Yulia.
Yulia?
Yulia Manolakis, and I'm a senior policy analyst with the Office of Federal Procurement Policy in OMB and working for Matthew Blum.
Okay. Did we get the correct spelling?
Yes, I have it.
Okay, good. Okay. So next, want to hear from Department of Defense. Carla?
Yeah, good afternoon. Carla Johnson from Department of Defense. So we are in the process of planning our major outreach events for 2025. We're going to continue to leverage our Small Business Training Week and our Mentor Protege programs. They're the major outreach events that will address readiness challenges within the department and within the major defense acquisition programs to partner with industry in order to help identify various vendors, small business vendors that can obviously help with our mission. What we're going to do is hopefully utilize most of our small businesses to really meet the capability gaps that we identify. But our outreach will include topics such as DoD manufacturing innovation, which will highlight the importance of maintaining innovation and agility and connect various technologies across the DoD to the warfighter. We'll also focus on veteran small business updates, expanded defense industrial base, and small business director town hall, which will offer the various, will reach across the department to bring the small business directors together, and they will provide updates and identify requirement opportunities within our department.
Thank you for the update. All right, so next update is from General Services Administration, Mr. Paul Martin.
Thank you. Thank you. Paul Martin from GSA. So GSA is proud to support veterans via procurement programs, contracting opportunities, and product and service solutions. In FY24, GSA achieved an 8% goal and awarded $628 million to veteran-owned small businesses. Since 2018, GSA has administered the Veterans Technology Services VETS program, which is dedicated to boosting contracting opportunities for service-disabled veteran-owned small business. The VETS 2 government-wide acquisition contract enables federal agencies to procure cutting-edge IT services while supporting veteran entrepreneurs. Since its award inception, the GSA VETS QAC has issued 240 task orders and obligated over $2 billion across various military and civilian agencies. Major clients of the GSA VETS QAC have been the Department of Army and the Department of Homeland Security. On June 11th of this year, GSA issued a modification to the VETS 2 QAC, increasing the ceiling by $1.1 billion, bringing the total ceiling value up to $6.1 billion. Although the Vets to GWAC warming period expires to 2028, GSA is preparing for the next generation SPVLSP GWAC. GSA is currently evaluating offers under the SPVLSP pool of the new Polaris GWAC program, which won't have a contract ceiling. With awards expected in the next fiscal year, Polaris will continue to expand opportunities for SPVLSPs and support the evolving IT needs of the federal agencies. When I say the next fiscal year, it's FY25 later in the year. Activities. In conjunction with the Veterans through National Series titled "A Veteran Small Business Resources Webinar," we had over 100 attendees. GSA forecast tool of contract opportunities lists 8 opportunities with an estimated total contract value of $155 million set aside for veteran small businesses once awarded. Across various agencies that use that same portal, there are 50 opportunities set aside, 50 opportunities set aside for veteran small businesses with an estimated contract value of $305 million once awarded. Congratulations to the 100 plus Polaris Small Business Awards. On October 3rd, GSA issued the list of Polaris Small Business Pool awardees. Some of those winners were veteran-owned small businesses. The Polaris SD and VOSB awards will take place later in FY25. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Paul. So next is the Department of Veterans Affairs.
Good afternoon. It's Cordell Smith. I'm Deputy Director for Acquisition Policy in the Small Business Office, OSDBU. Just a couple of quick updates. The most significant one I want to mention is that we have a new executive director here in OSDBU. Those of you who know Kimberly Osborne, who has been a participant in these meetings in the past, was actually acting as the executive director. We now have a new permanent executive director in Desmond Brown. He comes to us from the Office of Personnel Management, and he is aggressively getting his feet on the ground and connected with all the veterans issues. And I think you'll be seeing a lot more of him in future meetings. Also want to call your attention to the fact that we have announced save the date for our National Veteran Small Business Engagement, which will be October 7th through the 9th in 2025 in Cleveland. And I'll copy the link and put it in the chat for you so that you can keep an eye on that. Right now, it just has that information, but that link will have updates from time to time. We've done some preliminary calculations for FY24 results, and we're finding that VA awarded right around $10 billion to service disabled and other veteran kinds of businesses. And so we are enthusiastic about that high level of opportunity that our VA contracting officers have been providing to veterans. So $10 billion, that's really feel good that that's a lot of good opportunity there. Want to give one update on something I mentioned in a previous month about training we were developing on subcontracting. This is actually aimed mostly at contracting officers to help them fully grasp the scope of what we ask them to do in terms of developing subcontracting plans, monitoring performance, and evaluating the outcomes. And so we've prepared a full hour-long training for contracting officers. We have actually finished developing all of that material. There's quite a lot of it. And we are turning that over to the VA Acquisition Academy, which has the resources and the facilities to be able to deliver that training to our contracting officers. Really optimistic that improving contracting officer understanding of those responsibilities will also tend to strengthen compliance and oversight. And it actually meshes nicely with one of the elements that Matthew Blum mentioned in his update from OMB, where we want to track past performance by contractors, prime contractors on subcontracting plans. so that when the next time around we look at awarding them a contract, we have that information, that history of performance that we can look at and say, is this subcontracting plan realistic? Are they actually going to meet those expectations? Contracting officers have to enter that information. Otherwise, when we get to the point of making new contract awards, we don't have that information to make those judgments. So we're trying to improve compliance at tracking that past performance information. So I am joined today by one of my VA colleagues from the Veteran Readiness and Employment Service, and that's Cheryl Carrington. Cheryl, did you want to say a couple of quick words about some things that VRNE is doing?
Sure, thank you very much. I'm Dr. Carrington. I'm the Employment Coordinator and Business Liaison for the Salt Lake City Regional Office in Utah. And over the past year, we've had a significant increase in interest from veterans who go through our vocational rehabilitation training programs to pursue self-employment. As you know, our veterans with service-connected disabilities, and they receive training from us to find new careers after their active duty service. And so I just want to let you know that from the front lines here, we work with the State of Utah Veterans and State of Utah Veteran and Military Affairs Department, the Veterans Business Resource Center, the Small Business Development Center, and the Small Business Administration to help veterans find these new careers and help them facilitate the services and the tools and equipment that they need to get their businesses going. So we are very actively involved with these programs, and we're very grateful to the Small Business Administration and Interagency group in helping us facilitate that. The veterans are very happy with it, and they're making good progress with their businesses. Thank you.
So thank you, Cheryl. That sounds like some good resources for veterans to take advantage of. One final note I'd like to just throw out on a personal note. This is actually my last one of these meetings. I've decided after 28 years of federal service that I'm going to retire at the end of this month. So I've just wanted to say a quick thank you to many friends and colleagues here on this interagency task force for the collaboration and constructive work we've had over the years. And I think you'll be in good hands with our new office leadership. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Cordell. This is Stan Kurtz with the Office of Veterans Business Development. First of all, I want to say welcome aboard to Dr. Brown. We look forward to you attending these meetings with us. And again, thank you, Dr. Carrington, for pointing out the VRD program. We work very closely with the VRD program. So thank you for your input there. And lastly, I want to thank Cordell for everything he's done. He is a subject matter expert. He's always somebody that we can rely on. And so he's been a great partner with us, and you will be sorely missed, my friend. With that said, the next update would be the Small Business Veterans Coalition with Scott Jensen.
Thanks, Stan. Yeah, this is Scott Jensen with the National Veteran Small Business Coalition. Just a couple of brief updates. November 7th, we enjoyed a sellout crowd in Fairfax for our fourth annual awards gala, where we recognized and celebrated the agencies and large primes that achieved their set-aside goals. Many of those represented on this call were there to be recognized and receive their awards, and we look forward to those who weren't achieving their set-aside goals for SDVOSBs and being there next year to walk across the stage and receive their awards. We appreciate the Deputy Administrator being there and making comments, as well as so many of our other friends from the SBA that are, I'm sure, in the room there that participated. So thank you so much. On March 17th, MVSBC, in partnership with the Baroni Center at George Mason University and the Institute for Veteran and Military Families, as well as JP Morgan Chase, will be hosting a Veteran Access to Capital program like we did last year. So keep your eye out for that. Again, that's March 17th. And then again, we've got our Vets 25 conference in Orlando again, May 13th through the 16th. And we just opened individual registrations today. So many people have been looking forward to getting their registration in and asking me about that. So our exhibit tables and sponsorships have been open a while. If there's interest in exhibits, I would get those in. They're going actually much faster than we've had them go in the past, and I think we could see them sell out rather quickly here. So a lot happening for vets and across the country with many of our programs. So you can always visit our website at www.nvsbc.org for the full calendar of events and more details on any of this, or you can just reach out to me as well. So thanks, and happy to answer any questions later. Thanks, Stan.
Thank you, Scott. Next, the vet force with Mr. Victor Klinghoffer.
Hi, Victor Klingelhofer. I am a vice chair for VetForce, which is the Veterans Entrepreneurial Task Force. And we've been around for a few times. And I wanted to thank Cordell for all the work that he has done for our community over the years. You could always be sure you could count on, for his expertise. One of the goals that VetForce decided on this year was to expand our physical presence. Because we were started here in Washington to get the early work on Capitol Hill, getting the early versions of the various veteran-owned business statutes. We found that we were actually not addressing enough of the communities that we should have. So we have made a conscious effort to go west of the Mississippi, and we have a number of new participants in VetForce, a number of new businesses that joined with us. We had, for example, yesterday a Zoom conference call and spent all the time talking with people in California and Nevada, and it's gratifying that we are growing. Almost every week we have new people coming in. One of the things that I wanted to also express my thanks for is all the work on the subcontracting goals. And over the years, it's something I've raised, I know, a number of times, that there was no one overseeing these subcontracting plans, and that basically, a lot of the subcontractors were simply being abused, is a polite word to say, by large businesses who, almost the minute that the ink was dry on the prime contract, started figuring out ways to either greatly reduce or reduce entirely the subcontractors' part of the contracts. Another point that we've made over the years is to try to recognize problems from a contractor's point of view before it gets up into the really nasty fights that so often can occur. I mean, one thing I've noted that has been brought up by several of our members recently is a section in the Department of Veterans Affairs acquisition regulations. It's VAAR 852.243-70, construction changes clause. What this clause, which has been around forever, as far as I can tell, limits the amounts that contractors, especially small business contractors, can request as a result of change order work. You know, it seems like should be fairly easy. Well, it isn't, because a number of our people have complained that the goals or um, you know, what this requisition state addresses is the amount of overhead and profit a business can charge as a result of change order work. Now, it reduces 10% profit, which is probably reasonable. But what I've noticed and our participants have noticed and complained about is that it also limits overhead costs to 10%. And a lot of our folks don't realize that this even exists. It's buried in a myriad of, procurement provisions in a contract. And this is one of the areas that we're going to start working on as an outreach to the community, as well as bringing it up with the SBA and seeing what SBA and the VA is something that needs to be addressed. We need to look at this. I mean, we have small business contractors that I know of who have received change order work that far exceeds the change order amount, a fair amount for doing the change order work itself. And because of that, they are having small businesses, veteran-owned businesses, are having a hard time on VA contracts in getting a fair take when it comes to change order work. That's one thing. There are other areas also that we learn about and that we try to get to an agency, get to the right person in an agency, and about taking care of it, which is one wonderful thing about Cordell. He was someone who would listen. And, Major also was usually a good person to listen. But, because of our unique position as a true nonprofit, totally voluntary organization, everything we do, we pay for out of our own pockets and without seeking money from anyone. And it's been that way from the beginning. We talked about maybe getting dues, and we just say no. Since what we want to do for our fellow vets. It's funny, I was sitting here listening to everyone. I was thinking back to 1980 when I left the service and didn't have any idea what I was going to do. And, luckily, the VA steered me to the right position, but that was probably more a matter of luck on my part. But anyway, and it's funny, I listened to all the wonderful programs that you all put in, and I personally can appreciate them, having done this without them. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Victor. The last but not least, we're going to hear from the American Legion. Before I get Mike's update, I want to thank the American Legion. As Robin pointed out earlier, we just did a entrepreneurship veteran, or actually it's called Military Community Entrepreneurship Summit in Las Cruces, New Mexico. We picked that area. We worked very closely with the American Legion and looked at underserved communities and rural areas. And so that's how Las Cruces came about. And so it was a great event. American Legion was one of our co-sponsors, so we thank them for that. And again, American Legion is always there for us, and they're a great player with us, good partner. So with that said, I'll turn it over to Mike and Michael Pitts. You can talk about some of the other things that American Legion is doing.
Well, thanks, Stan, for giving some detail on my update. I appreciate it. There was also a 2-day Boots to Business workshop held at American Legion headquarters. Since we've been in this meeting, I've gotten approval to offer the American Legion headquarters as a IATF meeting location. If you want to put us on the list, we'd be more than happy to host the committee right down the street. The Legion has met with Congresswoman Velasquez, who's the chairwoman of the House Small Business Committee, and to discuss a number of programs, including improving the 8A program, issues with subcontracting, the Vets First program for DoD, which I'll talk about a little bit more detail, and last but not least, opening a VBOC in Puerto Rico, which kind of goes way back to Stan, when we were just talking about, I know it's technically not overseas, but being able to hit veterans that are outside the continental United States. The Legion has been supporting HR 7401, which as I kind of go back in time, Stan, almost 10 years during the ACVBA, which is our sister committee here that is made up of veteran entrepreneurs, which is basically having the entity that makes veterans be in line with the same Vets First agenda that the VA has. And so it's finally in a bill. I don't know I know it's gone to the House. I don't know how much momentum it's going to go. What I've learned from being on these committees is this is a marathon, not a sprint. But very interested to see, kind of what happens and how Congress responds to getting some of those small business goals and requirements at DoD. If the committee may or may not be fully up to speed, but currently the way SDVOSB's the language is written in the FAR, it really doesn't give any further leg up to veteran-owned businesses than just regular small businesses. The way that the language is written is not super easy for contracting officers to digest, and essentially gives us, the same benefit. Now, we're happy all small businesses get that benefit for small business set-asides, but obviously we would prefer that veteran-owned small businesses and service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses get a little bit more of a leg up in that community. And just a final comment, listening to OMB and some of the progress that the SBA is having. When we're talking about, especially when Matthew was talking about the metrics on the subcontracting process, and the improvements thereof, it would be extremely helpful that if this committee could coordinate what those goals and metrics are, and just see how we can align all of our kind of efforts into what that specific area of subcontracting would be. And would love to hear some more on the forecast portal. I think we've been hearing about that for a while. We're excited to see what that portal looks like and what some of those what some of that feedback is in detail, and how the SBA might be able to take advantage of that as well. And with that, that's my update.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate your update. And so that gives all the updates for the agencies. And I want to thank all the agencies for either calling in or being here and present. It means a lot. And going back to what the deputy has said, there seems to be a lot of collaboration more and more as these meetings go on, and I appreciate that. On a sad note, one of our committee members, the untimely passing of Charles McCaffrey. So Charles was part of this committee. He was also the current chair for the Federal Advisory Committee, the Advisory Committee for Veterans Business Affairs. Charles was a very staunch advocate for veterans, military spouses. Outside of the committees, he was also working very closely in the community, in the veteran community, just to help veterans, military spouses. Charles was also at one time a director of the Veterans Business Outreach Center in Springfield. So he left a great legacy there. He was a VBOC of the Year. He was plugged into the Institute Veterans for Military Families, Dog Tag, Bakery, and their cohorts. So Charles had a big footprint in the military community, and we are very saddened to hear of his passing. And so I just wanted to recognize Charles for all his efforts that he did, and wanted to pass that along and have it on the record as well. So with that said, I'll turn it back over to
Mr. Chairman, Stan.
Yes.
Hi, this is Charles Wilson, former Deputy General Counsel of the Small Business Administration under Ed Norton. I left federal service in '82, heavily involved in a number of committees, the FAR conversion committees, DFAR and the FAR conversion committees. Now a veteran in private practice over a period of years, I represent a shipping and cargo industry, and particularly women-owned business in that area. That is something that we have not taken advantage of in the federal sector. And I'm looking at this period of time, particularly now when there is a clear need for the continuing capability, expanded capability of small businesses to impact other arenas. How a women-owned business would have opportunities. Where are the opportunities today for women-owned business that are involved, and women veteran-owned business, I might add, in the cargo, shipping, and logistics area? And I hold the floor open to listen for that opportunity.
Well, I would say, first step is probably reach out to either the SBA district offices or the Veterans Business Outreach Centers, and we can put those links in the chat. That's a great place to start. We work very closely with women-owned businesses, veteran-owned businesses. Actually, here at SBA, one of our grantees, we have a entrepreneurship, women's veterans entrepreneurship training program, or ETP. And so there's some great training there as well to help those veteran women business owners. So I would say to move forward with those businesses, to reach out to either the SBA district offices or the Veterans Business Outreach Centers. And so thank you for your question. And so with that, Nicole, are there any other questions in the chat?
Hi, Stan. There are no other questions in the chat for right now, but those listening, feel free to pop them in or come off mute to ask one.
Thank you, Nicole. And again, going back to, we're now in the public comment session. So if there are any other questions that people may have calling in from the public.
So this is Rob Bailey. I'm the former chair of the advisory committee and also on the executive committee for the Vet Force. So hello, Stan. How are you?
Good to hear from you, Rob.
Yeah, good. So I just have a comment and or question, I guess. When I heard, I guess, the representatives from OMB speaking to the subcontracting metrics, that was, as you know, during my tenure on the committee, that was one of our focus areas. And it was very pleasant to hear overarching theme here with the uptick in focus on subcontracting. What I would just offer as a suggestion is that when we say that subcontracting has increased, it'd be interesting to hear what metrics are we evaluating that by? Meaning, is that just an affiliation on an IDIQ contract with no value? Or is that a combination of value and affiliation on that contract? because there's a huge difference. So I would just ask that the stakeholders here today, with the momentum that we have going towards subcontracting, it's not only the first port of entry for new entities into the industrial base, but it's a sustainment mechanism for those small businesses who are already in there. So we can't live off of only prime contracts. So subcontracting plays a vital role. I would love to see some teeth around the evaluation and even a separate office is set up to help manage subcontracting in its entirety. It's a wonderful mechanism for acquisition strategy and growth, as long as we can figure out how to make it useful for small business, but definitely better known small business. I'll yield there. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Rob, for that comment. And you know, as you said, you can tell just by the comments that are made today by the committee that there is now a focus on subcontracting. So as far as matrix, not sure where we're at with that now, but I think we're in the early stages of really looking at that. So thanks, Rob. Are there any other comments? If not, I'll turn it over back to Mr. Robert Yanuzzi, the Assistant Administrator for the Office of Veterans Business Development.
Thanks, Dan. So I tend to go on tangents if given the opportunity to do so. I'm going to spare you guys my typical modus operandi and just close by saying thank you to everybody who participated in this and move on to the next to closing. So thank you and have a wonderful day.
Okay, with that said, this meeting is adjourned. And I want to thank everybody for coming today.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
All right. That's the way you,
Here, Carol.